What's going on, Boulder? The drama has not stopped when it comes to Shedeur Sanders and the NFL draft, as a quarterback coach in the NFL had some statements to say that pretty messed up. And then Coach Prime goes on the offensive and he responds to basically the statements that Shedeur is too brash and arrogant when it came to his interview. So I'm going to show you where Josina Anderson reported on that, statements from Todd McShay, and how Coach Prime has responded to it. So let's dive into that here on the Prime Time for College Football. First and foremost, let's take a look at what Josina Anderson had to say. I'm going to read this to you all because is a lot. She basically posted a long tweet about this, but this is the headline here. It mainly says, "I'm disappointed to hear that a quarterback coach from a team drafted in the top 7 referred to Shedeur Sanders as coming off brash and arrogant in his team interview and making his assessment known to a number of people per source." I'm purposely not saying the team's name, but this is how long this statement is. Here it is. As not to directly call the team out, I'm just sharing that this coach's personal assessment is the direct opposite from how Sanders came across to many reporters in his press conference with the media at the Combine. Sanders appeared to go out of his way to acknowledge multiple media members, regardless of if they were recognizable or not. He seemed cordial, polite, witty, thoughtful, along with being confident, as many athletes are. Alternatively, these observations were distinctly different from how another QB prospect came across to some of the media last year in Indy. According to league sources, that the QB coach seemed to have an issue with the culture of the athletes who had broad fame and financial success before entering the NFL, and in their opinion, appears to them to have a problem. Certain athletes, I'll leave it at that. This is how pre-draft evaluations can get jacked because of evaluators who don't seemingly possesses the discernment to detect intangible traits that are connected to the will and drive to win without being a stat or delineate in a analytics report. He's literally Deion Sanders' son, and despite growing up different from most, seemed fairly grounded. Hopefully, any potential bias toward the culture are being checked at the door as not to unduly impact stock and business. The modern day college athlete is evolving as the scale of the business and opportunities surrounding them before entering professional leagues. Adaptation sounds necessary and not just for Sanders. Long post, long details, but what Josina Anderson is pointing out is stuff that's been reported that's at the Combine. And she's not the only one that said some stuff, right? Todd McShay went on the Todd McShay show not too long ago on YouTube yesterday, and he said something similar. He said that a couple of teams that interviewed Shedeur, they felt like they didn't take the interview seriously. And these are teams that are drafting, that need a quarterback in the top portions of the draft. And he said that a couple of teams felt that way, and that's just been a consistent. They said it in different ways. One said he wasn't very professional, not saying he did anything wrong, but more so just didn't feel professional. And the other one said that they felt like he didn't take it seriously. Now, the Josina Anderson one makes me feel like that's just a hater. Whoever that QB coach is, he's just a hater. That don't make any sense because you had Stefanski that came out for the Cleveland Browns, who had what, the number 2 pick? And he raved about Shedeur. I played that video for y'all last time. You know what? Let's tee it up again.
Yeah, spent time with Shedeur today. Spent time with a lot of the players over the last 48 hours. A lot of speed dating going on. But Shedeur is a very, very impressive young man, was raised the right way. Obviously, is a heck of a football player. That's evident off the tape, but really impressed with the person.
So Stefanski pulls up, and he's raving about Shedeur. He's raving about him and the way he carried himself, the way he talked, all of that, which is crazy, right? One of the top coaches, yeah, he likes him. So to me, I think the Browns is a very good place that Shedeur could end up at, fortunately. But I digress. they probably enjoy the likes of him because he has a similar confidence in himself as to what Baker Mayfield had when the Cleveland Browns looked at him as well. Baker was very confident. The organization just failed him because they kept changing coaches. I think that Shedeur get lucky that they'll keep Stefanski around long enough for him to have success. So I don't think that that's a bad situation in comparison to what Baker had. But Todd McShay saying and multiples saying the same thing, while we're also seeing certain teams say, no, we love Shedeur. It's kind of crazy because the Josina Anderson one I mentioned, I think that that's just hating. The others, I think they're trying to tank his stock so they can get him in the draft later. Like they're trying to find a way to manipulate things because this happens all the time. I mean, I think it happened with Bo Nix last year. And this is not a very uncommon thing that teams will try to, with certain players, if they want to get their hands on them, they'll throw out some bad information on them and say, oh, he got a character issue, got problems. And if they fall to them, boom, they're going to snatch him up and draft him. So some of these teams are trying to play that 4D chess or 5D chess or whatever you want to call that crap. But the fact that they pulling this out on Shedeur, ridiculous. And so, of course, Coach Prime had to respond, which I thought was pretty interesting, the way he responded, because it kind of surprised me. But he went after him. First, he posted this video from FS1 with Mark Schlereth, and this is what he said.
A lot of the draft evaluators are stupid. Show me a quarterback who's not arrogant. You ever sit with a guy who's going to be a star quarterback? Most of them are arrogant. Most of them have a lot of belief in what they do. He's incredibly accurate.
Yes, he is.
He really understands not only offensive football, but he understands what you're doing as a defense. So he'll pick you apart that way. He processes quickly. Like all those things to me are big-time attributes. And I just remember last year at this time, Bo Nix falling. People saying, hey, Bo Nix is going to be a second-rounder, and Bo Nix is not. By the way, that guy was one of the best quarterbacks in this rookie class last year. So I don't worry about what the evaluators say about Shedeur Sanders. I think the guy is a big-time player.
Then Coach Prime followed up with this one from Emmanuel Acho and them from the facility over there at FS1. He, once again, said, repost.
I think Shedeur Sanders' security makes a lot of people insecure. No question. I think Shedeur Sanders realizing, wait a second, I've made money before I got into the NFL. Wait a second, my pops has already taught me about the value not only of money, but the value, most importantly, of myself. Shedeur Sanders has realized, wait a second, who are you to dictate how I should feel, how I should think, how I should act, and how I should move? Furthermore, apple, tree, it don't fall far from it. Who you think his dad was? Remember 1989, the New York Giants wanted to interview Deion Sanders. The New York Giants, they simply said, hey, Deion, we want you to take this written test. Deion said, why am I taking a written test? The Giants said, well, we make all of our draft picks, potential draft picks, take it. Deion said, hey, where do y'all pick at? They said, in the 17 range. Deion Sanders said, oh, I'm going to be long gone before y'all ever pick. And he walked up out the room. Apple, tree, who you think raised Shedeur Sanders? So when Shedeur Sanders, I would suggest, comes off as confident, comes off as secure, comes off as knowing who he is, you, insecure, dictate his security is something that's an issue. That's how I feel about it.
So I want to play those back-to-back for y'all because the Schlereth one jumped out to me because he pointed out everyone talks about how they like Shedeur, at least to him. They've given him they're like, They like that about him. They like his personality. He's very nice. He's very genuine. And you can tell that that's truly who he is. Whereas in this other situation, these other coaches, not everybody's going to like you. Let's just put it that way. And that's understood. The problem is that with Shedeur, I'm not hearing very much football dislike rather than personality dislike. You kind of had to have some delusion. You got to have some heavy confidence to be an athlete. You do. You've got to believe you're going to outdo the guy across from you, even if you do lose to them. Why? Because if you sulk it every time you lose, you're not going to get back up to continue to perform. So it's ridiculous to me, the thought process that Shedeur needs to tone anything down because he's not doing anything. He's confident in himself. And everyone talks about how respectful he is. I mean, heck, those social media posts of guys saying Shedeur comes over, he does an 10-minute interview with us and he shakes everybody's hand around there. Like, he's very likable. So I guess the question is, Who do you trust? And the question also is, do you think they're trying to tank his stock so they can draft him? Because I've seen it happen before. And I believe this is one of those situations. Let me know what y'all think. Hop in those comments. Want to hear your thoughts. All right. So y'all know we talked with our guy, Philip Dukes from Dukes' Scoop, here on YouTube, as well as he does stuff with Well Off Media. He does stuff with a few other channels here on YouTube. And he pulled up 30-something minutes, gave us some love. My mic was acting up, so I had to try to clean up as much as possible, but I digress. He came through and kicked it with us. Check out that video. I think it should be right there. And then make sure you hit that like, subscribe, bell notification, join the family. We're talking all Coach Prime and everything around him. So we'll chop it up soon.